swinging the axe on employees to try and cut costs. We've seen that today in the case of Woolworths. Thousands set to walk as the CEO as well falls on his sword. Terminations of employment, though, can be costly as well as time-consuming when it comes to running a business. Well, a white paper out by the national labour and employment law firm People and Culture Strategies finding some important developments when it comes to the true cost of terminations of employment. Managing Principal and Workplace Commentator Joydeep Hor live in our Sydney CBD studio. Joydeep, welcome into the show. You've sliced and diced it. The methodology, first off, let's understand the context for doing this and how you've arrived at your findings.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Carson. We found that we had no fewer than 76 employers around the country who responded to this particular survey, most of whom were clients of our firm, but some of whom were not. We really were seeking to understand the tangible and some of the intangible costs of termination of employment. And the reason for seeing this as a really critical area of research for us was that in our observation, anecdotal as that may be, we were observing a lot of time being spent by employers on these processes. And what we were also seeing a lot of was employers having to pay in cold hard cash a lot more than what they were contractually obliged to provide someone in particular termination circumstances. And unsurprisingly, that was something that was quite starkly borne out in the particular research that we did. Some of the other really interesting survey data that came out of this particular report, which is available on our website, peopleculture.com.au, is that a lot of situations are labelled in a particular manner that is actually quite different to the real reason for termination. And most commonly, and we've certainly seen this a lot, there's the situation where someone's employment or position is made redundant, but the real reason that their employer has sought to part ways with them has in fact been something that's more akin to a perception or assessment of their performance, or in some instances a feeling that they're not a good cultural fit with the organisation. But for whatever reason, employers are choosing to throw money at those kinds of situations, label it a redundancy, rather than necessarily engage with the issues.
And I mean, without getting bogged down, but in terms of redress, how common is it to be going back, revisiting and challenging those same said arbitrary labels that are being slapped on termination?
Absolutely, and we saw that in a significant percentage of those termination situations there was some level of legal contest or threatened legal challenge, and indeed in something like 90+% of those cases where there was some kind of initiated challenge, the employer decided, rightly or wrongly, to pay further compensation to what it had originally proposed to pay. So we are seeing a lot more challenges, and we're seeing a lot more responsiveness to those challenges by way of compensation.
Something to leave employers with off the back of that. Just a final thought, Joydeep, in terms of a bigger picture moral to all of this.
Yeah, I think one of the most critical messages for employers here is the need for clarity around reason, and really appreciating that the terminations that are going to be the most difficult to effect are the ones where they are triggered by an assessment as to a person's performance, whether that be the tin tacks of how they go about their job, or alternatively an assessment of a person's suitability by way of cultural fit, or howsoever it might be described. They're the ones that employers really need to focus on, and getting on the front foot in terms of being very clear around expectations is a message that's very salient from this process as well.
That's certainly something to ponder in a very real sense. Joydeep, thank you so much as always.
Pleasure.